All right, I am seeing the numbers start to level off here, so we will go ahead and get started here. Welcome everybody to NAFA Florida's second Power Hour in association with citizens. Glad you could all be in attendance today. I'm gonna kick it over to our NAFA Florida president, Cheryl Cantanella, and she's gonna share a few things about NAFA Florida. Cheryl?
Thanks, Zach. Well, welcome everyone, and thanks for joining us. I am honored to be the NAFA Florida 2025 president, and I've been a member of this association for 15 out of the 25 years I've been in the business. But we're proud to be able to bring Citizens Power Hour to you. This is the second time this year we've been able to offer this, and we've been working with citizens for years now. And bringing quality information like this to you. So I do want to share that NAFA is the professional organization for agents who help individuals, families, businesses protect and grow their financial future. So if you're in the insurance business, then this is the organization that you need to be a part of. We've been around for 135 years, and that makes us the longest standing association in our industry. So I wanted to share some of the things that we can offer you as membership as for being a member or participating as a member within the association and what we do. So we are serving advisors, insurance agents in the retirement business, employee benefits, but what we're offering to you is being able to work. We go to we have advocacy, which means we go to Tallahassee every year. We go to DC every year. We are talking with our state representatives and our senators and our legislators overall, talking about things that are going to impact our industry and what we do to protect our clients. So that could be anywhere from fiduciary regulations to commission protections and tax reform and healthcare laws. So it is definitely something to participate in, to be able to do that at a local level here at the state, at the state level, as well as a national level. But we are representing you and we are representing our clients and the entire industry when we do this. We have education through webinars just like this one, certifications and conferences, networking, leadership that you can get involved in as well. Credibility. We promote things like NAFA Quality Award. We have advisors under 40 that we promote every year. At the national level, we have a Young Advisor Leader of the Year, Diversity Champions, and other countless number of awards. And the Quality Award is actually something that is seen as a very prestigious local thing to be able to share and promote. So grassroots training, advocacy, events are happening not only in your local areas, but also throughout the state and at national. So we do have NAFA Live, which is a monthly webinar. We go to Tallahassee, like I mentioned, every year, congressional conference in DC. But the local meetings, we have what we call affiliates, and there are a lot of local meetings that are popping up throughout the state. So when you do go to our website, which I'll put flash up at the end of this when I wrap up, please go on there and see if there's a local event. We're starting to add them up. There may not all be on their site, but we are working to add them. So, and if you want to get connected and contribute locally, I'd love to help support you in doing that through events, whether or not educational or through happy hours and whatnot. But I wanted to share one of our recent events. We just got back from our annual sales symposium. We did go on a cruise, a CE cruise. We did offer continuing education credits, and we had speakers. Some of you may recognize people like Joe Jordan. Tom Cothran is our past national president, some other local leaders in the industry. And here's a picture of us all. We're missing quite a few people here, but we do have a good group amount of people that participated within the event and had a great time doing something completely different than we've ever done before. So with that being said, I want to thank you for allowing me to share this local information. And I apologize for the dog. If you're interested in getting involved, especially if you're a new agent, We have discounted features or discounted membership pricing that will allow you to participate at levels based on if you've been in the business from 1 year to 5 years. And again, those local affiliates are popping up for local events and leadership. So if you want to get involved, we can help promote you and support you at all of those local levels. So just log on to our site. And when you log into that site in the upper right-hand corner, you will see membership and join. If you have any other questions, feel free to reach out to myself or Zach. So thank you for allowing me to share that, Zach. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out.
Awesome. Thank you, Cheryl, for sharing all that information. Check out the chat for the link on Florida events coming up in your area. But without any further ado, I will hand it over to the wonderful people at Citizens, and I believe Carl Rockman is going to start us off. So, Carl, take it
Great.
away.
Thank you, Zach, and thanks, Cheryl. Thanks for having us. Very pleased to spend a little time with the great members of NAFA. We have a great partnership with this association, and as Zach and Cheryl said, really encourage everyone, get involved in an association because the voice of the retail agent in the state of Florida has never been more important. So if we can flip the slide. As Zach mentioned, I'm Carl Rockman, Vice President of Agency and Market Services. My contact information is right there should you need me for any reason. But joining me today are two of our great agency managers from the East Coast of Florida. I want to introduce you to George Maynard. George, are you out there?
I am up here, sir.
Wonderful. Thanks for having you and coming today, George. And then also representing the West Coast of Florida, we've got Eddie Ramirez. Eddie, are you out there?
I am. Thank you, Carl.
Excellent. George and Eddie will have the bulk of today's presentation, but George and Eddie are both in a role we call agency managers, and they play a very important role to the success of Citizens and the success of your agency. So looking forward to their presentations in just a few minutes. On the next slide, I want to also recognize our great partners at NAFA. Representing your association, we've got Lee Gorodetsky, who is on our Market Accountability and Advisory Committee. That committee meets 4 times a year formally with citizen staff. On that board are not just the agent associations, but the Office of Insurance Regulation, the 3 biggest carriers in Florida, the Bankers Association, the realtors. It's a very effective board, and what that board does is hold citizens accountable to make sure we're delivering service and support to all stakeholders, including agents. So Lee represents NAFA on that board. And then Eric Ponce, who a lot of you know, is on our agent roundtable representing NAFA. And also a shout out to Craig Duncan, who also is a NAFA member, but represents State Farm Florida on our ART. Eric and Craig will be in attendance at our ART meeting next week, next Tuesday, where we're going to have an all-day meeting on the clearinghouse and on other issues that'll impact agencies. But really looking forward to seeing Eric next week at our agent roundtable, where we really open up clearinghouse and have a big discussion on that. Next slide. I mentioned our agency managers, of which George and Eddie are members of that team. But also in addition to George and Eddie, we've got Jim Punday, Nydia, and Dahl, who are led by Kelly Abell. This group of agency managers represents citizens across the state of Florida. These are, in the traditional sense, marketing reps. You would call them marketing reps with any other carrier, but we're not looking to grow at Citizens, as you know. We are looking to make sure our agents get the support they need. So should you need advocacy, should you need training, should you need some kind of support with any issue involving Citizens, please reach out to your assigned agency manager based on this geography, or if you have less than 200 policies, reach out to our agent outreach team. We're standing by to help. Citizens can be a little bit complicated to work with Depop and Clearinghouse, and these fine professional folks are really standing by to connect with you and make sure you're getting the support you need to serve the customers we mutually serve. So please tap into that network should you need it. Road ahead, I'm going to take a brief couple of minutes just to prep you for what's going to be happening at Citizens, so you can have a little bit of a leg up operationally on the things that are coming up the pipeline. Looking back in the rearview mirror in June, I want to look in the rearview mirror because June is really impacting us today because we took rates in June. Our personal lines rates and commercial rates, you should start seeing those grind in on new business and renewal. Why is this important? As Citizens takes our rates up, that market relativity gets closer, more customers getting offers within 20% with Depop and new business clearinghouse. So we're very, very pleased to be able to take an appropriate rate. Again, Citizens has been under our rate levels, actuarially sound rate levels, for some time. We only got a 14% rate increase for this go around with the office. Obviously, we're going to take as much as we can to become actuarially sound. And that rate is certainly having an impact on our new business and on our renewals. So agents, you should be seeing the impact of those rates coming through both on new business and renewal. Depopulation in June continues. And we also added a new carrier lookup feature that we'll be featuring later when we drill into a little bit more detail on the clearinghouse. In July, a commercial lines depopulation. But we also loaded a new feature, licensed customer representative, select agent of record, and easy links. In July, we introduced a new feature for your 440 team members in the agency. When they're on Easy Links running a quote, they now can pick the right agent of record with the broadest carrier panel. That'll help Easy Links and help with integrity at the point of sale on the clearinghouse. So that feature was just loaded in July to great success. In August, we're doing another personalized depopulation, but we also introduced the consumer awareness form for new business effective 9/1 and after. And we're going to cover that form in some detail. But that is a new form that you're required to get the customer to acknowledge on new business written through the clearinghouse effective 9/1 and after. And then in September, more depopulation for commercial and personal lines, but also renewal clearinghouse. We will be piloting the renewal clearinghouse in September with the plans to introduce the renewal clearinghouse in Q4 of this year. What does that mean? Your HO and DP policies and your condo policies written with Citizens will be run through the clearinghouse, which is essentially Easy Links. We'll be looking for offers within 20%. And if the customer receives an offer in Easy Links in the clearinghouse within 20% in the renewal clearinghouse, we non-renew them. Okay, we're going to cover some details. A little bit of detail on that. More training and more awareness coming on that, but we are going to be piloting that in September, and just wanted to give everybody a heads up that you should expect to see a renewal clearinghouse coming later this year. Okay, so I'm done with the overview and road ahead. If you have questions, we're going to be taking those questions today, I believe, in the Q&A section of this Zoom, if I'm not mistaken. And if we don't get to your question, please send us an email to agent.outreach@citizensfla.com. We have a team of people manning the Q&A here, so we should be able to get back to you with an individual response. But should you have a more detailed question, or if we don't get to you for some reason, get that agent.outreach@citizensfla.com email address handy, and please send us any follow-up questions that you might have. So with that, I am concluded. I'm going to turn it over to, I think, either Eddie or George, not quite sure who's going to take us through the next section. So guys, take it away.
Thanks, Carl. I'll take it. Good morning, everyone. My name is George Maynard, and I'll begin my presentation by looking at a few important matters pertaining to the clearinghouse and depopulation. Next slide, please. Next slide. Great. By now, you should be familiar with our Easy Link submission process. Once you are ready to begin your quote, log into Easy Link's platform and start by entering the applicant's name and contact information, address of the insured location, not the mailing address. And here is where limited agents or right and service LCRs will select the agent they are quoting on behalf of, that Carl referred to. The pre-fill home option saves you time by estimating coverage A amounts without the need to run a full RCA, and is designed to pre-populate many of the fields within the application. Select home or dwelling to proceed. Then navigate through each of these tabs and complete the fields. Once you're finished, you're ready to submit to carriers. EasyLink sends the data to the carriers, and they in turn send the available quotes, which can result in any of the following scenarios. Scenario 1. A carrier returns a quote that is less than 20% of the citizen's premium. When this occurs, you bridge to that carrier's site and bind a policy. Scenario 2. Carrier quotes are returned, but they are over 20% of the citizen's premium. In this scenario, you may bridge the policy center. In scenario 3, while this is rare, only occurring in less than 6% of the EasyLinks quote submissions, we understand you may run into this situation. You receive a carrier quote that is less than 20% of the citizen's premium, and you are aware the carrier will not accept the risk, or having bridged over to the carrier, the premium increases, surpassing the citizen's premium by more than 20%. If this happens, you will then submit what we refer to as the override exception form with the required documentation to clearinghouse.help@citizensfla for review and approval. A response is received within 1 business day or sooner. If your exception is approved, you're clear to bridge the policy center where it is business as usual. Complete your application, bind the policy, and upload your required documents. We do want to make you aware of a new required document for HO3, HO6, DP1 dwelling, and DP3 new business submission that Carl referred to. And it's called the Clearinghouse Program, Know Your Options. This form will be required for new business policies effective September 1, 2025, and after, and requires both the insured and agent signature. This form brings additional awareness to the policyholder, allowing them to acknowledge they were informed of all carriers offering coverage. The form will also list all offers of coverage with carriers for which their agent is appointed with. A sample form is listed on the screen. Next slide. As discussed on the last slide, you may run into a situation where citizens is blocked by a carrier. In the example on the screen, carrier A is blocking citizens. This home has a 22-year-old water heater, and you know that in carrier A's guideline, they do not take water heaters aged more than 15 years. The water heater is in good working order for the 4-point inspection. You know you will need to submit a request for an eligibility override. You select the button on the screen, you complete the form, and send the form along with the 4-point that indicates the year of the water heater to our clearinghouse team. Once reviewed, which should take 1 business day or less, you will receive a determination from our clearinghouse team whether we will allow you to proceed with citizens or are unable to allow a citizen's policy and why. Let's look at how often requests for overrides are being requested. When we started the conversation on EasyLinks, we noted that less than 6% of risk submitted through EasyLinks required an override approval. Here is a look at those policies that did have an override submitted. On average, we receive about 875 requests per week, based upon an amount of approximately 15,000 overrides submitted in this time frame. This is about 6% of all submissions requiring an override request. However, as you can see, only about 55% of overrides were approved. Some common reasons an override will be overturned are: the form was completed incorrectly, the EasyLinks ID was missing, proof that submitted was not appropriate. Please be reminded that you should only submit the override form when you either have a decline from a carrier that is blocking citizens, or you know the carrier will not take the risk based on their underwriting guidelines. Next slide, please. When it comes to depopulation, we understand that sometimes a customer is required to, or chooses to be assumed by the takeout carrier making the offer. On some occasions, after they receive the official order from the takeout carrier, the premium for the new policy is much higher than anticipated, resulting in the customer making inquiries about the available options to remain with Citizens. As you are aware, we cannot remove a policy from an assumption. Therefore, if the customer wishes to return to Citizens, you must requalify the customer back into Citizens as new business. All new business eligibility requirements will apply. You must prove the 20% rule is met based on a new Citizens policy compared to the offer of coverage from the takeout carrier. If you can qualify the risk as eligible, the program to return this risk to Citizens does afford some flexibility when it comes to document submission. We issued a bulletin back in December 2023 with all the details for you if you would like to reference it. A copy of that bulletin is listed in the presentation. Because the policy was recently underwritten with us, we may have many of the required documents on file already, so we will allow an exception on uploading some of them to this new policy. There is a form you will need to complete and upload and link in the required document field for the documents you are submitting for an exception. The form is on the screen for reference and is linked within the bulletin. The form requires a few important pieces of information, such as the prior Citizens policy number, which form or forms you are waiving, and which company assumed the risk. The documents that you can waive as part of the exemption program are photographs, the 4-point inspection, the roof condition documentation, and the wind loss mitigation inspection form, which is basically the OIR 1802. Next slide, please. Let's switch gears a bit. How many times have you wanted to make a change at renewal and been refused and been confused about how to make that happen? Today, we are going to show you how this can be done. These changes can be made at renewal as soon as the renewal offer is available 51 days prior to the renewal. Let's start with the types of changes that can only be processed at renewal. The hurricane deductible. Increased or decreased deductible options may be available. Remove or add wind coverage. Applies if the existing multi-peril policy is outside the wind eligibility area. Agents must submit a policy change request with a request to exclude wind, storm, and hail coverage signed by the named insured. If a policyholder wants to exclude wind or hail coverage from an existing multi-peril policy in the wind eligible area, the agent must submit a new application. Remove or add contents, coverage C. Agents must submit a policy change request with a request to exclude content coverage signed by the named insured. Now let's look at how these endorsements are processed. To make a change effective on the renewal, there are a few important steps. To begin the process, you should change the date within the policy itself before you start your change. To do this, find the date field on the left-hand side of the policy menu. Change the date to the date of renewal of the policy, and this will match the expiration date on the summary tab. Next slide, please. And here you will choose Change Policy Transaction from the Actions menu as normally done. Next slide, please. Now, the first rule of thumb. Be sure to update the effective date of your change to the date of the renewal, as it will default to today's date. Also, it would be good to give a description of the changes being made. You may get an error message that reads, effective date must be between the policy effective date and expiration date. If you see this error message, that means you're doing it correctly, and serve as a reminder to change the effective date to match the renewal date. Once you change the effective date to the renewal term effective date, the red message will disappear. Once this is completed, select Next and proceed to make the desired change. Next slide, please. We talked about what changes need to be made at renewal, as well as how to effectively process those changes. With that already said, I will illustrate when not to submit a change at renewal. If you are responding to a review and provide additional information activity, respond to the activity to resolve the request. If you are simply uploading documents that you wish to be part of the file, but do not need to have them reviewed, go ahead and upload via the Actions menu. If you are submitting a request, like those on the screen, they have their unique processing characteristics. Any other policy change that can be done now, you may process now, for example, flood changes, primary residence verification changes. Any request that requires an activity be submitted to accomplish a change, such as a reinstatement request and guidelines, request to add sinkhole loss coverage, and submitting CAT proof of repair. Next slide, please. We're going to switch gear a bit here to the commercial lines new business. Did you know when you received the request for submission approval activity from commercial underwriting, you can modify the deductibles before binding? All you would need to do is select Edit Transaction, and from there you will be able to access coverages and modify the deductible within allowable combinations or in our underwriting manual. Let me take this opportunity to remind you of 3 important points on this subject. Firstly, you do not need to withdraw and start over to change a deductible after underwriting approves and allows you to bind. Secondly, this is the only change to policy details you can make in this status. And thirdly, if you need to change the payer or payment plan, if you have not accepted and printed and are still within your window to do so, you will be able to make that change in the transaction before you accept and print. So, what do you do if you need to change something else, like a win-loss mitigation credit? Let me show you. Next slide, please. To begin with, there are 2 statuses a policy can be in when you identify that you need to make a change to your approved submission. Those statuses are approved, but you have not selected accept and print yet. And the converse, your submission has been approved, but you did already select accept and print. If you have not selected accept and print, you should contact your underwriter and see if this is something they can assist you with. There may be an instance where we are able to assist you in modifying the application before you bind it and avoid needing to start over. If you have selected accept and print, you will need to withdraw and resubmit the risk with your changes. However, and this is very important and a huge time-saving tip for you, you should copy the submission before you withdraw it, so you do not have to begin the application process from the beginning. There are, however, 4 exceptions to this rule I'd like to review with you. Next slide, please. And here are the 4 exceptions. The first exception is if you already accepted the risk and now need to make changes, but cannot wait to endorse the policy after it has been issued. The second is that you missed the acceptance window and still need the risk. The third is that you accepted and printed with the full payment plan and wanted to change it to a quarterly plan. And finally, you accepted and printed and now need to amend the effective date. All 4 changes must be processed by withdrawing and resubmitting the application. As previously stated, in these scenarios, we recommend you copy the submission before you withdraw it to make the resubmission process easier for you. Ladies and gentlemen, as Carl indicated, if you have any questions, you can throw them in the chat and we will respond to them accordingly. And that being said, that concludes my part of the presentation, and I will turn it over to my colleague, Eddie Ramirez, to give his presentation. Eddie, take it away.
Thank you, George, and good morning, everyone. Let's move back to personal lines underwriting. We want to touch on our unbound submission process, specifically the most common reasons you may need to submit an unbound submission and some tips to avoid delays in processing. On this slide, we will see some of the most common reasons to submit a policy unbound. One common reason to process an unbound submission is an unacceptable liability exposure. Aside from empty in-ground pool, a few other examples of unacceptable liability exposures may include animals with bite history or a business in the home, just to name a few. In many cases, the risk may be eligible for a dwelling fire policy, excluding liability coverage. Another common reason to submit an unbound application is that the property has existing damage. There may have been a prior claim on the property, or the home is just in need of repairs. Remember to include a description of the damage and photos with your submission, and include acceptable documentation reflecting when the repairs will be completed. But probably the most common reason for submitting an unbound application is the condition of the age of the roof. Let's review our current roof requirements. When considering whether to submit your unbound application for underwriting review due to roof features or concerns, it is important to keep the following in mind. Citizens will require documentation for full roof replacement for the following roof types. For homes with shingles or other type of soft roofs more than 25 years old, mobile homes with roofs more than 25 years old, and lastly, homes that have tile, slate, clay, concrete, or metal roofs more than 50 years old. It is important to pay special attention to the year built of the home if the home or dwelling is less than 25 years old for soft roof or less than 50 years old for hard roof. Then the roof documentation is not required and there is no need to submit your application unbound. If you have a risk with a roof that does not meet the age requirements, or you do not have acceptable documentation providing full roof replacement, such as roof permits, then you could submit the application unbound with documentation verifying that the roof has at least 5 years remaining useful life. For properties that are a new purchase and have a roof in unacceptable conditions, you may submit an unbound application with a signed roofing contract demonstrating that the buyer's intent to replace the roof. A reminder that these repairs must be completed within the first 30 days of a policy effective date. Next slide. Some important information we would like to share as a reminder on this. The personal lines underwriting processing times are updated weekly, and agents can check this on our website by visiting the personal tab and then selecting processing time. For unbound submissions, our standard time to review is 5 business days, but we're currently working at an average of 6 business days. Here are a few suggestions on how to avoid delays. As previously mentioned, one of our most common reasons to see unbound submissions is the age of the roof. Taking some time to conduct an online search for roof permits may avoid the need to submit the policy unbound. Another great tip is to submit your application as soon as you have the necessary information and requirements. Remember, if you have the required information and documentation, you can submit your unbound application, and later, if needed, you can process an effective date change so that there is no need to wait to submit your application for review. Please note that the ability to request a rush for underwriting review is a courtesy, and these requests are fulfilled based on staff availability and workload. Rush requests are reserved for those submissions that have a closing coming up within 2 business days. Acceptable closing proof of purchase documents must be uploaded to the submission before requesting a rush review. No need to wait for the HUD or closing papers to submit your application, as it is sufficient to upload any of the following: the residential contract for sale and purchase, a good faith estimate, or the deed. All of the important resources to assist you with the unbound submission process and requirements can be found by visiting the Citizens Agent site and navigating to the training, then personal job aids, where you can access the product guides and the home condition requirements job aids. You can also access our underwriting manuals under the personal tabs of our website. Now we want to briefly touch on the rate change announced earlier this year and its effects on policies that have the non-primary residence rate applied. As announced in the Personal Lines Bulletin published on April 3rd, the Florida Office of Insurance Regulation approved changes to Citizens' personal lines policy rates for new and renewal policies effective on and after June 1st of 2025. This is the first approved rate change after we introduced the non-primary resident rates. For non-primary risk, the rate changes range from 0 decrease to a 50% increase. Also, a reminder that the statutory maximum allowable cap for individual rate changes, known as a glide path, has increased to 14% in 2025. To verify impacted policies by territories, agents may access the rating steps and factor document on the agent site by selecting personal, then the appropriate policy category, then select the document to review the rating factor tables. Next slide. Speaking of training bulletins, we have always made it a priority to keep our agents informed, traditionally sharing updates as needed through individual bulletins. To enhance that effort, we've introduced a dedicated newsletter, the Agent Advisor, which serves as a consistent, centralized source for news, resources, and key updates. The Agent Advisor is sent by email every Thursday to agents and their staffs who are credentialed in myAgency. For some reasons you are not receiving the email, You can sign up to receive it by visiting the main citizen site and selecting news, agent bulletins, and then subscribe or unsubscribe. The following pop-up box will appear when you are asked for some basic information and you hit submit. You are all set. Here is a sample of the agent advisor that we sent in April of this year. It included important information on the new agency and agent agreement that we just rolled out, as well as commercial lines and personal lines bulletins that announced our 2025 rate changes. It also included a new and very useful resource titled Customer Experience Through Depopulation Tools for Agents. This useful tool brings together most of the available resources related to depopulation, and in addition, highlights advantages to both policyholders and agents to consider the offer of assumption. If you haven't seen it yet, I highly recommend taking a moment to check it out on our website. It can be found under Programs, then select Depopulation Resources. Next slide. As we all know too well, we have officially entered the 2025 hurricane season. We want to share a quick reminder with you regarding the hurricane deductible and show you some great hurricane coverage resource. The hurricane deductible is applied on a calendar year basis, which is January through December. During a busy hurricane season, the insured is only required to pay the hurricane deductible once, even if they have needed repairs from multiple storms. For this reason, insured should report all claims and keep all receipts for hurricane damage repairs, even if they do not reach their deductible from one storm. Any amount paid is applied to the hurricane calendar year deductible. We saw this very scenario last year with Hurricane Helene and Hurricane Milton. Both caused damage in the same area about 1 week apart in roughly the same area of the state. Remember, per the agency appointment agreement, you are required to report all claims when they are received, including third-party claims. As you know, you can report a claim right in Policy Center, or you or the insured can call us 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to report a claim over the phone. Next slide. Additionally, we have 2 resources that serve as basic hurricane coverage reference documents. They can be very helpful when a storm occurs and you receive questions from the insured, such as, does my policy cover to remove the tree that fell on my garage? Simple and general answers can be found in these guides. They are located in our training page under the personal or commercial lines and in the general section. Now that you are in Policy Center, I wanted to also remind you that when it comes to knowing when things are happening with your policies, Citizens sends notices to agents via Policy Center desktop activities. Now, not everything is, but activities like when an assumed policy is removed from an assumption, the best way for an agent to receive notice when this happens, we recommend you to sign up for a daily email from Policy Center that tells you anytime a document is generated to the insured. This includes, but is not limited to, renewals, invoices, cancellations, Policy Center, policy changes, and when a policy is removed from an assumption, among many others. The daily email is linked to the agent of record's user's credential. If you haven't set this up already, we highly encourage you to do so. It's easy. You would need to log into Policy Center using your username and password. Select the little gear on the top right corner. Select Preference from the drop-down menu. Once on the preference screen, select Yes to the Send Email Notification to Me when a document is generated question, and then select Update. Let's take a quick look at what the email will include once you receive it. This is an example of the daily email you would receive if you sign up. This email includes the policy number, the policyholder's name, and the type of document generated. As you can see, you may be able to use this email to understand which policies you need to take action on for one reason or another: cancellations, non-renewals, payment due, etc. Did you know that every time one of our mutual policyholders calls Citizens directly, we offer them the opportunity to complete a satisfaction survey? This survey we call Voice of Customers, or VOC. We ask the policyholder who chooses to participate a series of questions about their satisfaction with Citizens as a whole. This survey allows us to understand where we as a company can improve our interactions with customers and pick up on policy and procedure updates that might benefit our policyholders. As part of this survey, we ask them to rate the service provided by their insurance agents. This question is applied a score on a scale from 1 through 5, 1 being very dissatisfied and 5 being very satisfied. When the policyholder chooses a score of 1 through 3, we offer them the opportunity to tell us why, and we capture the reasoning verbatim. All these survey results are captured, aggregated, and then rolled up to the agency level. Your agency field manager can share these results with you and may be contacting you to discuss those results as well. We understand that our agents play a key role in shaping the customer experience from quoting and binding the business to servicing the policy. So it's important to understand how your interaction impacts customer satisfaction. That's why next we will discuss a performance page on the agent site, which outlines service expectations that are connected to your agency agent agreement. The performance page is a one-stop shop for comprehensive information to help you stay in compliance with your agency and agent agreement. This page contains key information with direct links to the agency agreement for easy reference. This section also helps you manage your relationship with Citizens and our mutual customers. You can access the performance page on the agent site by selecting Performance on the top right and the side of the screen, and then Agency Performance. Understanding how not to violate your appointment agreement with Citizens can be complicated. Agency Performance has important information aimed to support appointed agents in effectively managing their relationship with Citizens by outlining our standards and expectations. The subsections within the performance page are tied directly to your agreement. These subsections are the following. First one, the first topic is customer experience, which includes the policyholder declaration of rights. This section outlines expectations for professionalism, including timely responses, answering calls, and immediately reporting claims. Next, you will find the performance and late submission violation program section. Here you will find information on agent appointment requirements and our performance standard requirements. The agency operations section provides agents with guidance on important elements of agency operation, including requirements for bank and trust accounts, staff credentialing, renewal remarketing expectation, and specifically states that the agents are prohibited from using the Citizens brand in any advertisement, marketing, or promoting materials. Agents are required to adhere to all of our underwriting standards. This section is divided into personal lines and commercial lines requirements. Lastly, in the disciplinary action section, you will find information on the reasons and process for agent termination. These standards are now directly tied to your agreement with us. Failure to meet expectations, especially those related to customer experience, can result in disciplinary action up to and including termination. We encourage all agency principals and agency staff to review this area regularly to stay informed and ensure alignment with our performance and service expectations. This next section, if you're an agency leader, we're going to transition into going over some of the myAgency dashboard and credentialing information. Now, if you're not an agency principal or one of their designees, you may want to drop off this next section as it is geared towards agency principals and their designees. However, there might be some information in these next slides that you may find interested or helpful in your current role in the agency. However, please feel free to stay on the call for the next few minutes as we go over some of the key tools that we have available to help with managing your agency relationship with citizens. We want to remind you that all agency staff who interact with citizens must be properly credentialed in myAgency system. Please note, only agency principals and agency principal designees have access to the myAgency system. When adding staff, you must first ask yourself the following: what type of role does my staff member qualify for? And what type of access do I need them to have? For example, you may have an agent who has a 220 license and has at least 3 eligible DFS appointments. Depending on what function they will have in your agency, you can choose any of the following roles. They can have the full agent role. This role can write, service business, and they will be listed as the agent of record on all policies they submit. You can also choose the limited agent role. Here, the agent would be able to service existing business and write new business under a full agent within their location. The full agent will be the agent of record. What if you have a 220 licensed agent that only has 1 eligible DFS appointment? Well, then, the proper role for them would be a licensed customer representative, or an LCR, who can service all locations. They will not be able to write new business policies with citizens. If the staff member has a 440 license, then depending on their job duties within your agency, they can be added with access to write and service business within a location. You can also choose for them to be a service-only rep at multiple locations. We even have a role for those staff members who do not have a valid insurance license. This is the support staff role. This role can only view policy data, policy center notes, and documents. They can also quote in easy links, but will not have the access to bridge to policy center. Now that we have gone over the different roles, let's review the process for adding the staff member to myAgency. So if you are the agency principal or the agency principal designee, The way to do this is through the myAgency system, which is accessed on the agent site by selecting Performance, then myAgency. Then once in myAgency page, select Login on the right-hand side. Once logged in, you access the Add Staff function from the Location tab. This will generate a supplemental application that lets you input the staff member's information. You will see a list of available roles that include a brief description of each role. Once you scroll down, you will begin to answer the questions that relate to the staff member roles, such as, can the staff member write new business, or can the staff member service all locations? Then you will be asked if the staff member has a DFS license number. If they do, then you will be prompted to enter the number, and the system will check the appropriate appointments previously mentioned. Proceed with entering the staff member's information, such as their name, social security number, date of birth, phone, and email address. Lastly, it will ask you if you should have the agency principal designee added to their role, or if they are a support staff. Now, at this point, if you only have one staff member to add, you can select Submit. You also have the option to select Click Add Staff to add multiple staff members to the same supplemental application. Please keep in mind that in addition to completing the supplemental application, depending on the staff role, there will be additional training assigned, an agent agreement to sign, and a fee added. This will apply for your full agent and limited agent, not your LCRs or support staff. Supplemental applications with multiple staff members added are reviewed as a whole, and access will not be granted to any included staff until all assigned education and payments are received for all applicable staff. To avoid any unnecessary delays, we suggest that if you have multiple staff members to add, go ahead and submit a supplemental application for your LCRs and support staff separately from your limited and full agents. If you have multiple limited or full agents to add, then submit one application per agent and do not include them on the same supplemental application. Here's a recent example of a supplemental application that was submitted with multiple staff members, a total of 8. 7 LCRs had to wait for one limited agent to complete the training and process a payment in order for all to gain access in the system. This is a great example of an agency principal who processed the supplemental application with only LCRs added. He submitted his application at 11:34 a.m. and then at 11:38 a.m. the request was auto-approved and his staff was added and had access to the system. And with that, that concludes my section. Any questions, we do encourage you to please add them to the chat, or please send them to the agent.outreach@citizensfla.com. And with that, I turn it back to Carl.
Great. Thanks, Eddie. And thanks everyone for joining. Again, a quick shout out to Eddie and George for their great presentation. A reminder to the agents on the line that our agency management team's standing by to work with you, along with our great folks on our 800 number at Citizens. Want to again thank NAIFA for the time and attention and the great partnership that we have with them to make sure that all of their member agencies are getting the support that they need. With that, I'd like to turn it back over to NAIFA for any brief closing comments that they might have.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Carl. Thank you to George and Eddie and the whole Citizens team for giving us all this information today. We obviously covered a lot there in the last hour or so, so we did record this session, so we will be uploading that to YouTube today, so we should have that out on socials tomorrow and through email to all of y'all in case you missed anything and want to go back and review something. I'm going to leave it open here for another minute or two in case you have any last minute questions for the citizens team. And then I will go ahead and end the webinar. Thank y'all for attending, everybody.